Hey guys, it's Bailey from Making Up the Midwest, and in this video I'm going to be telling you all about my top bargain eyeshadow palettes. At first, when I was trying to put these palettes together, I was trying to fit them into my top 10 drugstore category, my top 10 video category, but I just couldn't come up with 10 drugstore eyeshadow palettes that I absolutely love that provided enough diversity. You know, I could pick 10 eyeshadow palettes from one brand, one kind of palette, but that to me didn't seem fair. So to diversify and kind of show you some different things, I found that I have about 6 palettes here, I think, or 6 different kind of types of palettes, and rather than being from the drugstore, they are all under $10, which I think is a pretty good deal. So if you'd like to see what I put in my top 6 or whatever, please continue watching. So I think I'll just, to make things easier, start at the top of my pile, which, as it turns out, is probably the most easily guessed palette, because I think it's not so much a cult classic as it is just commonly known these palettes are good for their quality, for the price. Those are the Wet n Wild 8 pan color icon palettes is what they are. This is Petal Pusher, and this is a well-worn comfort zone. One of the deepest brown here cracked and is kind of powdery everywhere, so I need to clean that up. There's also a cool blue tone. Blue Had Me at Hello is the name of it, and it's another great one. There's not one I would pick over the other unless you have a color preference, and in general they are just, I think they're $4.99 or $5.99, so it's less than $1 a shadow. They're all smooth, creamy, pigmented, all that kind of stuff. They are a little powdery, but of all the evils that can be found in eyeshadow, it's the lesser. Powderiness is the lesser of all of them for me, just because it's, I find it's easily fixed with, you know, applying your foundation second or wiping it off. It just isn't a huge deal to me, so the fact that the worst thing these have going for them is powderiness is okay by me. Yeah, that's the first one, are the Color Icon 8-pan palettes. Next drugstore eyeshadow palette is the Maybelline Eye Studio Quads, and this, unfortunately, the only one I have to show you today is a limited edition. This is the Olive Martini from the fall collection, which is actually the first time I had ever tried these, and shame on me because these are amazing. My mom has a few of the permanent quads like these, and I think the quality is consistent from limited edition to what, I mean, they're just phenomenal. They're smooth, creamy, pigmented, and the shimmery shades are just so like borderline metallic. I don't know, I find they have really great finishes. I'm not so sure they do matte shades really well, but they knock metallic and shimmery out of the park, which is really great. I think these retail for $7 or $8. I don't know. I'll have all the information in some sort of thing that pops up right here if you're curious. So yes, this is definitely another great kind of drugstore palette, I guess. Not just this one, but all of them in the same kind of line. Is that what the word I'm looking for? Line? I think that is it. Anywho, Eye Studio palettes. Winners. And then I think the last palette we have for the drugstore is the Jessie's Girl 9-pan or 9-color palette, whatever these are called. This is one that you might not be able to find in your drugstore because I believe they are exclusive to Rite Aid, but Jessie's Girl does retail online and you can have them. I think they ship internationally, so good news for those of you who don't have Rite Aids near you, which I don't. And I've mentioned this particular palette before in my top emerald favorites, and I was just so impressed with the quality and the pigment and how smooth they were and the lasting power. This is in, which one is this? The Eyes Have It, which clearly is all greens. It has kind of a sky blue here and has some neutral browns. And so it can be a very wearable palette, but there's also some fun colors in here, great for spring if you love more on the bright or even pastel end of things. It's just a very versatile palette, and you get 9 colors and a decent amount of product at that. So I do think that this is another great drugstore find if you can find them. Otherwise, like I said, they ship. Next is where we start getting into those brands that make this more of an affordable makeup video as opposed to a drugstore makeup video. And the first brand for that palette, you know what I'm trying to say, is a NYX palette. This is the NYX 5-color shadow palette from the Caribbean collection. This particular one is I Dream of St. Lucia? It's a colorful palette anyway, and the pigmentation of these is really great, and they're huge pans. I mean, I don't know if you can what to compare them to, but it's like these are really nice size pans. This palette in particular I think will be one that is really good for summer, obviously, because brights are going to be back in. But they're very buildable, especially these bright colors. I think you can wear them as light washes across your lid if you want a light blue or a light green, whatever. Or you can definitely build them. I have worn these as pretty pigmented on top, and obviously you wear them over a base or primer or whatever, and they pop even more. But I just think this particular palette is very versatile, and the quality for a $7 palette, I think it is just, you can't beat it. So definitely great on the affordable list. Next on the list is actually a Sleek palette. Those of you in the UK will be familiar with this brand, obviously, but those in the US might be thinking, why are you showing me this unattainable palette when it's beautiful, by the way. It's the Storm palette. It has beautiful champagne-y neutrals, but also these deep divine colors. I'm showing it to you because they ship internationally. This is a $10, actually $9.99. If you look on the website, it's $9.99, so it makes the $10 mark, and then you can pay international shipping. My advice to you, if you do want to ship this and you live in the US, is to kind of buy in bulk. You know, do one big order so that it makes the shipping worth it, as opposed to just buying this and then having to pay international shipping, which isn't too bad. I mean, considering you get something you can't get in the US, but even still, I just consider ordering more. This particular palette, the Storm palette, like I said before, has these neutrals, both shimmer and matte, which is something I think others value in an affordable palette, good matte shades. Obviously the shimmers are great, and then the color selection in this palette in particular is so sultry and smoky, and you have lots of deep gem tones, which I love. So I would recommend this palette in particular, as well as some of the other ones that I've tried I don't own. I think the only other one I owned is the Acid palette, but I'm not sure if they ship that here because I know some of the ingredients aren't approved by the FDA, so I don't know if they ship. I don't even know, but I have tried more than just this palette, and I do recommend them. The last palette on the list is the Jenny Rivera palette from BH Cosmetics, and in general, all of these big, kind of like the shimmer, the 88 or 120 color shimmer palettes are pretty decent little palettes that you can get from BH or Coastal Scents, or I think there's another one that does them as well. But in particular, I have been loving, in fact it's what I'm wearing on my eyes today, is the Jenny Rivera palette, this 36 color eyeshadow, and it has blushes, which I particularly love because they're just so beautiful. And the palette itself, there's a great selection of colors and finishes. There's some matte shades in here as well, and I believe I got this for $7.95. Something like that. So they're not the creamiest shadows you'll find, but they are nicely pigmented. Some of the matte shades are a little lacking, but I mean, those are kind of hard to come by in the first place. But to get this kind of color selection and have the bulk of them be great quality is just, I think it makes it one of the top, you know, however many I have in this list. I think it made the top. So that's it from me on the topic of my top affordable drugstore eyeshadow palettes. If you can think of any palettes I left out or anything more you want to know about the palettes that I discussed in this video, please feel free to comment in the section below. I'd love to hear what palettes you love, especially if there's another palette that I don't have that I can. That's always exciting news. Yeah, thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!